The most painful form of rejection isn't being told you're wrong. It's having your words float away as if you never spoke at all. Have you ever said something in a conversation, and it's like you didn't even speak? Someone checks their phone, another person interrupts you, the topic shifts, and your words just float away, unnoticed. It stings a little. You start to wonder, am I saying the wrong thing? Is it just me? Now, imagine this instead. You walk into a room. You haven't even said a word yet, and people already seem attentive. You speak, and the room quiets, not because you're loud, but because there's something in how you carry yourself, how you speak, that draws them in. So what changed? It's not magic. It's not natural charisma. And it's definitely not about dominating a conversation. It's about presence, timing, delivery, and most importantly, it's about intention. This problem isn't new. People tuning out, attention drifting, voices being ignored. This has been happening for thousands of years. In ancient Rome, Marcus Tullius Cicero, Rome's greatest orator, faced the same challenges: chaotic debates, distracted crowds, opponents trying to talk over him. But Cicero developed a way to consistently draw people in, keep their attention, and move them emotionally, whether he was speaking in a packed Senate chamber or making a case in court. His techniques were powerful then, and they're even more relevant now. The goal of this video isn't to teach you how to give a speech. It's to help you speak so people listen, anytime, anywhere. Whether you're leading a meeting, speaking up in class, talking to a friend, these principles will serve you, because they're not about sounding smart. They're about making your words stick. So, how do you become someone people naturally listen to? Cicero's method can be boiled down into three forces. Think of them as the three corners of a triangle. Without any one of them, the entire triangle collapses. The first is authority. Not dominance, not arrogance, but a sense of presence that says, I know what I'm talking about, and I belong here. The second is connection. Because no matter how smart you sound, if people don't feel like you understand them, they tune out, fast. Cicero implied that no one can be moved by your speech if they do not first believe you understand their position. The third is dynamism, variety, energy, the ability to break patterns and keep people engaged, not by being flashy, but by being unpredictable in a way the brain loves. We'll dig into each of these, but first, let's talk about why this matters so much. Because when you speak and nobody listens, it's not just annoying. It affects your confidence, your relationships, your opportunities. You start second-guessing yourself, editing your thoughts before you've even said them. You become quieter, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've been conditioned to think it won't matter. But it does matter, and it starts with how you carry yourself before you even open your mouth. Picture this. You're entering a meeting room. You don't speak immediately. You walk deliberately. You find your position, and then you wait. Silence. Stillness. You're already speaking without saying a word. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Before you even step inside, you can prepare mentally. Visualize your intention, not just your words. Recent neuroscience research shows that our nervous system transmits signals of confidence or insecurity before we speak. First, slow your breathing. Take 3 deep breaths, making your exhale slightly longer than your inhale. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, calming your fight or flight response. Second, connect with your physical body. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the weight of your body in your chair. This brings you into the present moment instead of worrying about future reactions. Third, anchor yourself with a clear intention. Not, I hope this goes well, but something specific like, I'm here to share an important insight, or I'm here to truly understand their perspective. This gives your nervous system a clear purpose to align with. When you do these things, slow breath, physical awareness, clear intention, you're literally programming your nervous system to project stability. Before your next meeting or conversation, try this. Don't rush in. Don't start talking immediately. Use those 10 to 15 seconds to ground yourself with this process. Then, Make eye contact. Position yourself strategically. This isn't about dominating the room, it's about participating fully in the space. Find a spot where you can see and be seen naturally. When you're comfortable with your physical presence, your mental presence follows. Authority begins before the first word is spoken. And when you do speak, start with conviction. Avoid apologetic language. Ditch phrases like, "I could be wrong, but," or "I just think." These phrases signal insecurity, not humility. Try, "Here's what I've noticed," or "In my experience, this tends to work." It's a subtle shift, but it changes how people perceive you. More importantly, it changes how you feel about your own voice. That's the foundation of authority. And once you have that, you can move into the second piece of the puzzle, creating a real human connection, the kind that makes people want to listen. So now you've got presence. You're grounded. You speak with calm conviction. But that alone isn't enough. If people don't feel like you're speaking to them or for them, you'll still lose the room. That's where the second force comes in, connection. And this one's trickier than it seems. A lot of people sound put together. Their words are polished. They make eye contact. They seem confident. But something feels off, like they're performing, like they're talking at you, not with you. Cicero knew the danger of sounding like a showman. He believed deeply in the power of goodwill, the sense that the speaker truly respected and cared about their audience. In today's terms, we might call that empathy or emotional intelligence, but whatever you call it, the effect is real. When people feel seen, they pay attention. So how do you build real connection? Start with listening, actual, active listening. We often think of communication as output, what we say, how we say it. But some of the most compelling communicators are the best listeners. They respond, not just react. Their words feel tailored to the moment, not preloaded. Here's a small shift with a huge impact. When someone's talking, instead of thinking about your response, just absorb what they're saying. Then, when it's your turn to speak, refer to it, even briefly. Say things like, "That part you mentioned about how no one responded to your idea. That really stuck with me." This isn't a trick. It's human, and it instantly makes your listener feel understood. Second, don't be afraid to reveal a little bit of yourself. Not in a dramatic, oversharing way, but in a purposeful way. Vulnerability creates trust, but only when it's aligned with the moment. Let's say you're pitching an idea that you know some people might resist. Instead of bulldozing through it, you might say, "I get that this might feel like a big shift. I felt hesitant at first, but here's what changed my mind." That small gesture, showing your own process, invites others into the journey. It lowers defenses. It makes people feel like they're not being talked down to. Cicero did this all the time. He'd mention his own doubts, his own learning curve, to make the audience feel like they were discovering something with him, not just being lectured. In his defense of Murena, he admitted his own anxieties about the election, creating immediate connection with his audience. The third piece of connection is subtle, but powerful. Mirroring. This doesn't mean copying someone's posture or tone. That can get weird fast. It means tuning into the emotional energy of the room and responding to it. If people seem tense, acknowledge it. If there's excitement, ride that wave. If the vibe feels flat, don't force cheerfulness. Shift gently with tone, pace, or a small moment of humor. And if you want a shortcut to connection, ask better questions. Not yes/no questions. Not loaded questions, but open-ended, curious ones. Try this. Have you ever had a moment where you said something important and it just landed flat? That question isn't just a prompt. It's a mirror. It pulls the listener into the conversation, makes them reflect, makes them nod. Suddenly, they're not just hearing you, they're with you. That's connection, not through manipulation, but through mutual presence. And when you combine that with grounded authority, you start to become someone people instinctively trust and pay attention to. But there's still one more piece, the one that keeps attention moving. Because even if you have authority and connection, if you speak in a monotone or predictable rhythm, the human brain will still drift. That's where we head next. The third force, dynamism. It doesn't mean being hyper or over the top. It means variety. It means rhythm. It means giving the brain little surprises to hold on to. Because here's something wild. The brain is wired to ignore repetition. It loves novelty. The moment your delivery becomes predictable, the brain checks out, even if what you're saying is important. Cicero warned about this over 2,000 years ago. He said speakers should avoid sameness in tone, gesture, and pacing, not for style, but for survival, to keep attention alive. So what does that actually look like? 1. Change your pace and tone. Great speakers use their voice like an instrument, not just loud or soft, but fast, slow, sharp, smooth. They speed up during excitement. They slow down to land a point. They whisper when it matters. It's not performance, it's awareness. You might say, and then everything just stopped. And then pause. That drop in tempo, that silence, it pulls people in. And here's a deeper truth about silence. It's not just about pausing. It's about comfort with uncertainty. When you can hold space without rushing to fill it, you demonstrate a level of self-assurance that commands attention. The most powerful communicators understand that silence isn't emptiness, it's presence. So don't be afraid to shift. If you normally speak quickly, experiment with slowing down. If your voice tends to stay even, try adding more inflection. Let emotion guide delivery. 2. Use micro-stories. Nothing wakes up a listener like a quick human story. We're wired to respond to narrative. Sometimes 2 lines is enough. A friend of mine once froze up during a Zoom call, completely blanked out. Later, she told me she felt invisible in that space. Boom, you've set a scene. You've created emotional stakes. And now your point about voice, presence, or inclusion lands harder. Stories are glue. Use them. 3. Ask questions, even if you don't want answers. Questions aren't just for discussion, they're for engagement. Try this. Have you ever said something important and halfway through realized no one was really listening? You're not polling the room, you're activating imagination. You're turning monologue into dialogue, even if the room is silent. It's like nudging the listener's brain. This is about you too. That shared mental space is what makes the difference between passive hearing and active listening. 4. Build around beats, not blocks. Too many speakers think in paragraphs, but good delivery happens in beats. A beat is a single moment of meaning, like, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. Pause. You just have to be felt. Pause again. Each beat lands separately. It gives people time to absorb, not just follow. Try thinking of your key points not as chunks, but as pulses. That rhythm creates momentum. It keeps people leaning forward. So what happens when you bring it all together? When your authority is grounded, your connection is real, and your delivery has rhythm. People lean in. They stop checking their phone. They remember what you said. More importantly, they remember how they felt while you were speaking. That's when communication shifts from being transactional to transformational. This isn't just for TED Talks or big meetings. It's for your next one-to-one check-in, your next voice note to a friend. The key is small reps, consistent reps. And soon, people start responding differently, not because you performed, but because you landed. You don't need to be someone else. You just need to be fully there. People won't just hear you, they'll feel you. That's the art of being heard. Until next time, take care of your mind.